Hi, my name is Zaak Kerstetter. I'm an Ableton certified trainer with KMG Academy in Boulder, Colorado. And today I'd like to talk about one of my absolute favorite features in Ableton Live, which is the groove pool. This is probably one of the least understood or most misunderstood features in all of Ableton Live, and I'd like to demystify a little bit so you can start using grooves in your tracks. So when we're talking about groove, what is groove? How does it work? I like to think of groove as the opposite of quantizing. When we're quantizing, we're taking audio MIDI that is off of the grid and moving it onto the grid. When we're using groove, we're taking audio MIDI that is on the grid and purposely moving it off the grid to hopefully make it sound a little more human and sound a little more interesting. So in this situation, we've got a super basic drum beat. We have some kick, snare, and hi-hat all on eighth notes. Sounds okay, but it sounds a little stiff. Doesn't have a lot of life to it. So I'm going to use some groove to add a little bit of life to it. The fastest and easiest way to access your groove pool is by going to this groove area of your clips and hitting this hot swap button. This will automatically take you to your core library and the swing and groove folder. Inside the swing and groove folder, we have a bunch of different kinds of grooves, like different hip hop groove, Latin percussion, all kinds of cool stuff. But let's take a look at the MPC folder, which is where we're going to find a lot of different swing settings. So swing is a specific kind of groove. And the way this works is you're going to see two numbers in the title here. We have MPC 8, swing 50. The first number is going to be the grid size of the groove. So these are going to be 8th note grooves. And if we scroll down here, we're going to see a bunch of 16th note grooves. The number next to that, 50 to about 75, is going to be the amount of groove. And this is where it gets a little confusing. A swing of 50 is going to be very, very subtle. You're not really even going to hear it. Whereas a swing of 75 is going to be very, very extreme. So keep an eye out for that. Essentially the amount of groove you're getting from 50 to 75. So let's take somewhere in the middle, say this swing 63. If I'd like to add this to my clip, I can either click and drag onto the clip here. I can click and drag down to my groove drop down menu in the bottom left corner, or I can just double click on it. So now I have the options for either no groove or my MPC 8 swing 63. And the way this swing is going to work is it's going to affect every other 8th note, which means that this note, these two notes, and this note will be affected, but none of the other notes will. And in this case, we will be able to hear our swing, but we won't be able to see it. So let's take a listen. Sounds pretty different than this. So we can't see it, but we can hear it. If I want to actually see what this groove looks like, we can hit the commit button, and you can see it's adjusting the timing of our MIDI notes, especially these ones on every other 8th note, and we can actually work with it from there. I'm going to go ahead and Command Z to undo that. So if I want to try out different grooves just to see what they sound like, I can also use what's called the groove pool by clicking on these two squiggly lines in the bottom left corner. This will show and hide the groove pool within the browser. So if I want to test out multiple different grooves, say I want to have one really subtle groove, like a 55 groove, I can just click and drag it into my groove pool. And maybe I'll have one that's really, really obvious, like a 73. Click and drag it into my groove pool. And now within this drop-down menu, I have access to my 63, my 55, and my 73. And I can jump back and forth between them to see which one I like the best. So let's try the 55 first. It's pretty subtle. You can hear it, but it's not very obvious. Let's try the 73. This is going to be really obvious. And again, if I were to commit that, we're going to see my notes that are affected by my groove are going to be even farther away from where they started than, say, on the 63 or the 55. In addition, if I have, say, a smaller grid size, say I have a bunch of 16-note hi-hats, like that, I can still apply this groove and it's still going to affect every other note. So here is my 73 groove, my 63, my 55. So you can really hear the difference between them. In addition, there's also a bunch of controls here where I can customize my groove, including this timing control, which is really useful. If I start to adjust this, think of this kind of like a dry wet control for your groove. So if you start off with a really heavy groove, like I do right now with the 73, I can start to turn this down. So at 0%, it's not doing anything. As I turn that up, we'll get more and more groove in there. So this is a really fun, really easy way to take something that's very quantized, if you just plugged in a drum beat, sequence everything in there, to breathe in a little bit of life to it, make it sound a little more human, make it sound a little funkier, and there's tons and tons of options when it comes to applying different grooves that are built into Live. You can even create and extract your own grooves if you want to. One thing I would like to point out is if you have an 8th note clip and try to apply a 16th note groove to it, it's not going to do anything because there's nothing on 16 notes. So watch out for that. There might be certain situations where you have what should be a really heavy groove and you don't hear anything. That might be why. So take some time, play some grooves. They're really, really fun once you get used to how to use them and how to apply them to your clips. And then, in my opinion, they make everything sound a little better, a little more human, a little more organic, and a great way to add some like funk and some style to your drum beat without really having to put a lot of work or put a lot of effort into it. So hopefully you enjoyed watching that. Keep an eye out for more videos from KMG coming real soon. Thanks for watching.